Welcome to the Box Score, sponsored this year, our talent sponsor. We're blessed to have them, and that's Blackwell Realty with the Josh Kirby team. And I've got a good friend alongside, and Murph, we hadn't done sports in probably 25 to 30 years, but Murphy Farah, the guru, knows everything about football in the state of Tennessee. We are blessed to have you here at DTC Sports.
Well, it's a blessing to be here, Terry. We had some great times covering Owl and Owlette basketball back in the decade of the 90s, and it's just kind of like old times all over again.
You know, Murphy, we haven't lost touch. I guess we talk to each other once or twice a week, and you are like me. You are a football nut, and you're as excited as a kid at Christmas right now, anticipating just a couple of nights away from the high school football season starting.
It's almost here, that's for sure. I have plans of going to games Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week just to get the season kicked off. But I think we're also blessed due to the fact that we've got some really good high school programs in the area that we're going to be talking about on a regular basis. Maybe not necessarily teams that are going to be playing in the Blue Cross Bowl in Chattanooga, but great coaches who know the game well and even more importantly are teaching great life lessons to these kids.
Murphy, when we look last year, we were hoping after everything was over, COVID's done, and we don't have to deal with it anymore. But unfortunately, it's rearing its ugly head again, and it's going to have an effect on this year's high school football.
It already has. USJ was scheduled to play Liberty Tech out of Jackson this week. Liberty Tech had to back out because of COVID testing, and so consequently USJ is coming to Nashville to play Goodpasture, and it's a domino effect because that's going to affect the team that Goodpasture was supposed to play, Harding Academy out of Memphis. They were going to play a team out of Linden, Perry County, and Perry County ends up playing was going to play a team from Middleton, and it just gets more confusing as time goes by. So the COVID thing is far from being over, and we're just going to have to deal with it the best we can. TSSAA knows a little bit more about what to do in situations like this than they did last year, and we're just going to have to remember that that's a fact of life right now.
Murphy, when you look, basketball kind of got us prepped for that in the fact that you had those cancellation and then those pickup games really sometimes in less than 24 hours notice. Harder to do that in football because you don't have as many games, you don't have as many teams to pick from when it comes to that. But still, that's something that could be a true reality.
Well, it just shows how easy, I say easy, they might argue the fact, but how coaches have to adjust on the field during practice sessions, and they had to adjust in ways they never dreamed about before. All of a sudden, they need a bus because it's not a home game, it's an away game, or they've got to make different considerations for feeding the kids on pregame meals. And the list just seems to go on and on.
And the manager's duties pile up.
They really do. They really do.
Murph, let's go ahead and take a look at last year's Region 4-1A standings. Of course, Gordonsville, a member of them. This region is different than it was a year ago. Of course, we'll get to that in just a little bit, but Gordonsville kind of cruised through the region. Monterey, their only true test. Clay County gave them a pretty good game as well, but when you look at last year's demographics, I guess it's different from 2020 to 2021.
Quite a major difference there. First of all, Pickett County is off the screen. They've decided to only play junior varsity games this year. Just numbers are not what they need to be, and so Pickett County will not be playing a varsity regional schedule. Joe Burns, I've talked to their coach a couple of times in the preseason. He feels like they're going to be a little better than they were last year. Clay County is probably going to be every bit as good as they were. Monterey moves up to the 2A ranks, and so that's going to be kind of interesting to see how they will do. They're going to actually be in a region with Oneida among other teams east of here.
Murph, let's go ahead and look at the Region 4-2A breakdown from a year ago. Watertown was the cream of the crop there. Of course, them and Trousdale County, every time they get together, it's a great ball game. And once again, regular season, Watertown wins. Playoff, Trousdale County wins.
I keep telling Coach Webster he needs to throw that regular season game and flip everything around so that Watertown can win the one that really matters most, the one in the postseason. But I think that's 3 years in a row that they have defeated Trousdale County during the regular season, only to see the Yellow Jackets come back and win in the third round of the playoffs.
Let's go ahead and look at the Region 4 3A standings from a year ago. Of course, Smith County kind of surprisingly, under Scott Murray, sneaks in there and gets second place. Only 4 region wins. Of course, the first one I kind of think was the head turner was the one at Sequatchie and Dunlap. Dunlap, of course, is not in, or Sequatchie is not in the region anymore. They've got a new synthetic turf that they put down there, but Upham was definitely the cream of the crop inside the region, as nobody else had greater than a 400 record in the region.
The Bees are always well prepared. They have had pretty strong senior classes the last couple of years, so I'm not real sure how strong they're going to be. I think Upperman's still the team to beat, as Coach Kane just does such a great job down there.
Let's go ahead and flip it over to the DeKalb County's region, and that's Region 3-4A. And you look at DeKalb last year, went a couple rounds deep in the playoffs. Of course, Macon County under Kyle Shoulders. Of course, Livingston's going to be somewhat unknown this year, Murphy, because of the fact that Bruce Lamb and most of his staff is gone with a new head coach. So, that's going to shake up a little. Of course, it makes it a lot easier, Murph, when you only have 5 teams in that region and 4 of them have a chance to make the playoffs.
It does, and DeKalb County probably still the cream of the crop, although Macon County, I understand, early in the 7-on-7 season, if you will, ended up winning a 7-on-7 over in Shelbyville against some 6A teams. I think they did rather well in a 7-on-7 at Riverdale later on during the month of July. So Coach Shoulders is doing a great job over there, and it should show up on the field for sure.
Murphy, let's turn our attention now to the Blue Cross Bowl. Of course, that's the championship games. They've been at Cookeville, and now they're in Chattanooga.
Yeah, it's a interesting situation. Blue Cross Blue Shield is headquartered in Chattanooga, so it seems like maybe it should have been there all along. But nonetheless, we are going to be going to Chattanooga in late November and early December for championship games. Those will be played at Finley Stadium, which is where the UTC Mocs play their home game. It's been a long time since I've been to Finley, but I was there in the first or second year, and I love the stadium. It's got a much more intimate setting. I think it seats about 25,000 people or so, and should be a great place. It
reminds you of the old, what I call city stadiums,
right,
that's downtown. Let's go ahead and look at the Region 4-1A projections. Of course, you're going to see new teams here. Only 4 in Gordonsville's region. Gordonsville at 1, Clay County 2, Joe Burns 3, Red Boy 4. There's not a lot of, I don't see things not playing out there. I think Clay County, especially with the sheer lack of numbers that they have, if they can keep their starters on the field, make a challenge for them.
I think so. I went to that game last year, and it was a little bit give and take there in the early part of the game, the first couple of quarters or so before Gordonsville started to gel. Probably the big thing with Monterey moving up to 2A and Pickett County not competing with a varsity team this year, everybody in the region's going to the playoffs. Right. And that hasn't happened in Red Bowling Springs, but I think once in the past.
Once or twice, and Kyle Shoulders, who was at Macon County, guided them there.
Absolutely.
Sure did. Let's look at the Region 4-2A projections. You got Trousdale and Watertown, and the coaches think, hey, this is going to be nip and tuck, and you got East Robertson and Westmoreland, then you got Harpeth, you got Whites Creek. So a different cast of characters in Region 4-2A.
Those last two in particular, Harpeth over in Kingston Springs on the edge of Cheatham County, and Whites Creek in North Nashville. That'll be a very athletic team, new to that particular region. But I don't think there's any big mystery there. Trousdale County and Watertown are going to be the cream of the crop, so to speak. Westmoreland should be much improved. By the way, the head coach at Westmoreland, another Perry, who's first cousin to Trey Perry, who's the head coach at Mount Juliet. So, and East Robertson with the Taylor kid that everybody's after as far as a talented wide receiver to play at the next level.
Of course, Westmoreland back on the schedule of Smith County, and of course we used to see that matchup. Let's go ahead and look at the Region 4-3A projections, and there's the old familiar foe for Smith County, Sequatchie County, but that's it's a scattered out region. You look at Giles County 1, Sequatchie 2, tied for third is Community High School out of Unionville, along with Cannon County and then Grundy County. So, you know, these teams are going to have to do a lot of film study because Sequatchie and Cannon was in the same region a year ago, but everybody else is kind of newcomers.
Very much so. Cannon did play Community during the season. Community was a 2A team last year. If Cannon can beat Community or Grundy, and I think that the Lions can beat both of those teams if they play the kind of ball they're capable of, who knows, there could be a chance for Cannon County maybe to even get a playoff game at home if they can get past Sequatchie with a new coaching staff as well. The big mystery there is Giles County, all the way down on the Alabama line. And David O'Connor always does a great job with that team. Very athletic, very big up front, but they're going to be a tough test for the other 4 teams in that region.
Let's go ahead and look at the Region 5 3A, new schools. Of course, that's the one Smith County's in. You got East Nashville on top. I think with their athletic ability, Murphy, they're clear to the top, and you got a tie for second with Smith County and Stratford. Then you got Maplewood, and then you got Jackson County. So once again, when you look at Smith County, they didn't play or see any of these teams a year ago.
No, and I'm still scratching my head why they put these regions together that way. Smith County has never gone west in the football playoffs, and now three of the 5 teams in that region are inner-city Nashville schools. I'm not saying that's wrong that Smith County's having to play inner-city Nashville schools, but they've never gone west in the playoffs before. And I can remember years ago, Ronnie Carter always emphasizing that he was not going to put 2 teams in a region where one has to drive past other schools to get to teams in their region, and that's not necessarily going to be the case. And you look at Smith County and Jackson County, what kind of gates are they going to have when East Nashville, Stratford, or Maplewood comes to their stadium?
Home fans only.
It'll be just about that way. I'd say you could probably count them on both hands.
Right. When you look at the Region 4, 4A projections, of course, you know, this is kind of an Upper Cumberland district now, and you got Upperman sitting there on top, DeKalb and Macon second, Stone Memorial out of Cumberland County and Crossville, then Livingston, then Cumberland County. So, you know, I like the fact, of course, other than Macon County, everybody's probably within a 30, 45-minute drive of everybody else.
Very much so. It just goes to show you how Upperman, how the city of Baxter or the community of Baxter is growing. Their enrollment pushed them up to the 4A level. I'm sure Adam Kane wasn't looking to move to 4A, probably sensed that might be a possibility. But even though they may have one of the smaller enrollments in that 6-team region, they're still going to always be the team to beat in the foreseeable future, I think.
We're going to look at the 5 teams that we cover and we've mentioned already as we remind you you're watching the Box Score, brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team.
There's no shortage of real estate companies out there, but there's only one Blackwell Realty and Auction. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction has the knowledge and the experience necessary to help you. They understand that real estate sales happen because of the hours of work they put into every sale, whether representing you as the buyer, the seller, or both. Get started today the Kirby way. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction. Call them today or visit blackwellrealtyandauction.com. Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville is hiring. We have open positions for master maintenance technicians, maintenance trainer, electricians, miners, mill operators, mill technicians, warehouse attendant, business analyst, mine supervisor, and other amazing opportunities. We offer competitive wages, excellent benefits, PTO, holiday pay, exceptional 401k, and much more. Make the most of your future and your career. Join the excellent team at Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville.
Powell & Meadows Insurance, in business since 1894, provides knowledgeable and personal service to our clients. One call puts you in touch with a local agent who will help you shop from a variety of top companies. At Powell & Meadows Insurance Agency, we work for you. Call today or visit us online anytime.
We are here to help you. Let us show you what customer service is all about. Give us a call today.
Life can be so busy these days, but all of my services from DTC really help make everything easier and more enjoyable.
For a limited time, earn a $25 bill credit for your favorite local school and $25 for you when you add or upgrade internet service or TV with DTC.
I get great value with DTC.
Call or stop by today to learn more. DTC Communications, your total communications provider.
And welcome back to the Box Score, sponsored by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team. Terry Collins, along with my good friend Murphy Fair. And we're going to dive right into the Gordonsville Tigers, the Big Blue. Scott Clemens there again. Scott's been successful, gotten Gordonsville 2 and 3 rounds deep in the playoffs. But in talking to Coach Clemens, he's not just satisfied with that, Murphy. He wants to get to Chattanooga.
Well, they tasted that back in 1984, and they had another taste, 3 years ago, 4 years ago,
Yeah.
something like that. It's pretty sweet taste, and he's got the material over there with the right breaks at the right time. I think Gordonsville can get there. The big obstacle, obviously, is going to be South Pittsburgh. They've got a new coach down there with a new system, new scheme. They got a couple of college prospects on that South Pittsburgh team. But I think that's what it's all going to boil down to.
When you look, Gordonsville 9 and 3 a year ago, went two rounds deep. They won in the playoffs against Whitwell, beat Clay County in a very narrow game, and then lost to South Pittsburgh pretty handily. Their speed just was too much. But the Pirates could say that about any team they play.
The interesting thing about Gordonsville is the fact they are one of only 2 teams that defeated Fayetteville, the team that ended up winning the state championship at 1A. So that goes to show you that they're capable of playing with anybody in the 1A ranks, and it's going to be interesting. That Clay County game, by the way, is the last game of the regular season. So it'll be interesting. It was more of a mid-season kind of game last year, getting them the last week of the season. I don't know if that's a plus or a minus, but it'll be the game everybody's looking at, and I think that game will be played at Gordonsville again this year.
Right. When you look at Gordonsville, some of the, a few players to watch. You got Matthew Albritton returning at quarterback. You got Will Dudney. He's at wide receiver and linebacker. Got a big, strong frame. Trayson Davis has had injury bug, but he seems to be back at 100%. And then up front, which is very critical, you've got Levi Crosland. So not only these 4, but I think, as you said, Murphy, Gordonsville has a lot of depth, especially at the wide receiver, and I think Albritton's going to be throwing it all over the field.
I think so, and he runs with the ball awfully well, too. The one thing that impressed me most about Gordonsville, they got behind to Fayetteville, but they never quit.
Right.
Coach Clemens did a great job of keeping those kids in the ball game and finally going ahead in the second half to score a big, big win. And that one was on the road at Fayetteville.
Right. Let's look at Gordonsville's schedule. Of course, the game that they're circling is the one that's going to be right here on the DTC Game of the Week, and that's Smith County, their cross-county rival, a team they've had success over the last few years.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily that way when I moved to Smith County. I think it had been 29 or 30 years since Gordonsville had defeated a Smith County football team. They didn't lose that many years in a row because there were 2 or 3 years in there that they did not play. The overall record on that game, I think, is still pretty one-sided in favor of Smith County, but of late, the Tigers have kind of ruled in that regard.
Let's kind of look at the outlook now for Gordonsville and what's ahead for Coach Clemens. I know we look at their schedule there, but Murphy, when you look, I think the one big thing for them is their depth, and I think that's going to be a key. They lost some great kids. When you look at Ray and Carter and the kids they lost up front, that's big. A Holt kid at running back, that's big. But I think they've got admirable people to fill in.
And that's the one thing that most 1A coaches, if they want to talk about a downfall or a weakness, they don't have much depth. And like you said, that's one thing that Gordonsville is blessed with. They could lose 2 or 3 players and not fall off as far as talent on the field is concerned.
Let's look at Gavin Webster's Watertown Purple Tigers. A lot of unknowns this year, Murphy. You know, they've really been successful the last few years, very successful. When you look last year, 11-2, of course, they wound up losing to Travis County in the playoff. They won the region championship 3 years in a row, but they can't get by that quarterfinal hump against Travis County. But, you know, they got a 3-year start in Braden Cousineau. You've got Brady Watts, Hayden Dickey, Noah Clemens, players that are going to be integral to them, but somewhat a new cast of characters for the Purple Tigers.
Well, replacing Quantarius Hughes Malone as a wide receiver is going to be awfully tough. That guy caught passes for almost 1,000 yards last year, and replacing running back Jordan Kaysen. That little guy, if he gets to the corner, was gone. It was an automatic 6, and you don't have those every year, especially at the 2A level. The biggest question mark is going to be, can they beat Hartsville in the playoffs? They've proven they can beat them during the regular season, done it 3 years in a row, but those two teams are so evenly matched, I don't think there's ever going to be a situation where one beats the other one twice in the same season.
Watertown schedule, let's look at it. Of course, it's a little bit new in the fact they go into the frying pan, Murphy, on Friday night when they travel to Fayetteville for the defending 1A champion.
You look at the 3 of the first 4 games that they have. Defending state champion Fayetteville, the Gordonsville rivalry is as good as the Smith County rivalry as far as some people in Gordonsville are concerned, especially with Gavin Webster being a former Gordonsville Tiger himself, coaching that Watertown team. And then DeKalb County in the 4th week of the season, that's turned into a pretty good rivalry for Watertown also.
It definitely has. And you look Upperman and some of the teams they've got to play, Trousdale there in that last game, you know, that's going to be tough for sure. For the outlook, though, Murphy, I don't try to, I guess, not mince words when it comes to that, but I don't know that Watertown, they've got a lot to prove, I think, to be on the level of Trousdale County this year. I think Trousdale County's got so many weapons returning. Of course, they did lose Cameron Rankins, a great player, but still, you know, it'll be interesting to see how that matchup goes.
Well, it will, and I don't want to project into the future too terribly far, but we're in a new classification period that's only going to last 2 years because of the way Tennessee is exploding in size. TSSAA thought it was best, so let's just make this a 2-year thing because enrollment numbers can change. Everybody in the free world thought Watertown was going to be a 3A school this year. It didn't happen, but it will in 2 years. So if they're going to get to the championship game, they better get there this year or next.
Alcoa may be in their future.
That's right.
All right, we're going to look at Cannon County, Smith County, and DeKalb County when we return here. The box score that's brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team.
Catch coverage of high school football action on DTC Sports each week. Watch DTC 3 this Saturday night at 6:45 or online at dtc3.tv for football game night as DTC Sports presents the area's best games. Watch this week as the Gordonsville Tigers host the Smith County Owls. Football game night all season long on DTC Sports.
The Smith County Drug Prevention Coalition encourages our teenagers to be the positive influence. Stand against the epidemic of opioid and stimulant usage by joining the Youth Coalition #TakeBackTeam. 6% of Smith County students reported misusing prescription drugs. The #TakeBackTeam challenges you to stand outside the stack. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
2 delicious options, 2 convenient locations. So make the entire family happy with just one stop to KFC Taco Bell. Located at 501 Gordonsville Highway in Gordonsville and 105 East Broad Street in Smithville, we've got you covered at KFC Taco Bell, no matter the food craving. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, get in the car and kick that hunger to the curb with a quick visit to KFC Taco Bell. Located in Gordonsville and Smithville. Stop by today.
The Smith County Drug Prevention Coalition encourages our teenagers to be the positive influence. Stand against the epidemic of opioid and stimulant usage by joining the Youth Coalition #TakeBackTeam. 6% of Smith County students reported misusing prescription drugs. The #TakeBackTeam challenges you to stand outside the stack. This project is funded under a grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
And welcome back to the Box Scores, sponsored by Blackwell Realty and Auction and the Josh Kirby team. And let's go ahead and look at some more of our teams that we're going to be covering this year. First one, we're going to go to Murphy's hometown, Cannon County. Well, he's technically not from Woodbury, but Reedville is a suburb of Woodbury. Correct, Murph?
I don't think Reedville's ever been called a suburb before, but I'll take your word for it.
There you go. You look at Matt Daniel, he struggled. Last year didn't win a game, but I like him, and I think he works hard every year. He got close in some games last year, but just didn't get over the hump. I think maybe this year, that may pay dividends.
It wouldn't surprise me if the Lions win 4 or 5 ball games this year, maybe even more than that. He's finally got the kids to buy into the program that he's been preaching the last 3 or 4 years, and I think this is going to be a really fun year to be a Lion fan. I noticed you've got Nick Phillips' name, not you, but the background crew has got Nick Phillips as the projected players to watch. Nick will be starting this week. He's the returning quarterback and probably should be in that role, but as I understand it, senior Harrison Carr, a transfer from Oakland, is now a member of that Cannon County football team. He has to wait 1 more week before his time is up, according to the transfer rule. So Nick will be starting this week, but it'll probably be Harrison Carr taking the snaps under center for the offense this year.
Other people, Brendan Reed, a good athlete. We see him on the basketball floor, I believe, as well. Lane Nichols and Josh Mingle. But when you look at Cannon County, as we look at their schedule, Murph, they are just looking for confidence, being competitive. And I think with this schedule, they can be that way.
They've got a real good chance of winning those first 2 ball games. And if they get past those 2, I think they can beat Webb, they can beat Lookout Valley, they can beat Grundy County. Tennessee Heat, that is kind of a homeschooled team, if you will. But they've been around for a couple of years, and it's a formidable opponent. But I see Cannon County winning 5 or 6 of those ball games, and maybe even getting into a position to host a first-round game in the postseason.
That would be really big, I think, Murphy, as we reflect on Cannon County, just to get that confidence, to get a few wins. And, that breeds excitement, which spills over in the community, and, it's kind of like a wildfire.
Absolutely.
For sure. Let's go ahead and look at the Matt Dyer Smith County Owls. Of course, Matt's father, Pat, used to be at Smith County, and then Matt, a former Owl, done a lot of great blocking for one of the most prolific runners in Smith County history, one of the toughest, I'll give him that, in Michael Wilmore. Matt, they had a lot of success when Matt was here, and I know he's anxious to return the Owls to that. They went 4-7 a year ago. Second place, lost a heartbreaker to Brainerd in overtime. Brainerd goes for 2 in that overtime and gets it and beats the Owls by 1 to end their season. But when you look at the players to watch, Bryce Curry, he's just tough kid. Dennis West, a good athlete that suffered an injury a year ago. You look at Javier Gaspar, you look at Peyton Hicks, you look at Jameson Keeley. That's some players that are going to be key. They got to have big years for the Owls, but what will they do on offense, especially with Johnny Lido, their starting quarterback, out with the collarbone injury? I think that is a huge thing to look at, Murph.
I think the biggest question as far as Smith County Owl football is concerned this year, do they have the speed to compete with teams like East Nashville, Stratford, Maplewood? Those teams are loaded with kids who can fly, literally fly. And if those kids make it to the corner for those 3 teams, it could be a real struggle for the Owls. I don't think that's going to be as big an issue as I'm trying to make it out to be, but nonetheless, that will be an issue, especially the first time they step onto the field with that much speed.
That was a big issue last year, and the Owls maybe got a little quicker, but Murphy, you either have quickness or speed or you don't. So when you look at the schedule for the Owls, of course, they open with Gordonsville on their DTC game of the week, then another tough foe in DeKalb County, and then they've got 3 games at home against Maplewood, Westmoreland, and Walker Valley. Walker Valley supposed to be loaded again this time. Then you go to Trousdale. So a pretty tough worksheet that, by the way, Matt Dyer didn't design. That's Dusty Whitaker and athletic director Scott Apple that put this schedule together.
It'll be interesting to see how they do against Maplewood. Arsente Broom, who coached there for the last 10 or 12 years, is now the head coach at Overton in Nashville. And the coach who stepped in to take his place is a young man who caught, I think, 7 touchdown passes in a championship game when Ezel Harding scored over 60 points to win a state championship at the 1A level.
For the season, I know it's Matt's first year, but at least in the Jamboree, from, all accounts, they were tough on defense. And I think for Smith County to be as good as they can possibly be, they have got to be better on defense.
I want to put a word in here for Matt because a lot of people think he got the job just because his mom still teaches at Smith County and his dad was a football coach. But there are multiple other teams that wanted his services in the last couple of years. He's learned a lot in an assistant coach at Trousdale County. And Matt's a promising young coach, I think, although this is just his first year as a head coach. I think you need to keep an eye on this young man because I think he's going places before it's all said and done.
Definitely an enthusiastic guy. Let's go ahead and turn our attention to Smithville, Tennessee, and DeKalb County. And you look at Steve Trapp, been up there forever, I guess 17 years. And when you look at DeKalb and how long he's been there, he's got about a 500 record. But I think the last few years, he's kind of turned things around. And, they've gone deep in the playoffs, maybe went to the semis 2 or 3 years ago. I like Steve Trapp, and his quarterbacks and his offense is a fun brand of football to watch, Murphy.
I like Steve a lot too. He's a darn good football coach and a really, really good person. By the way, I noticed you listed up there that they lost to Nolensville. I'm going to just throw this in. Nolensville is representing the state of Tennessee at the Little League World Series.
That's correct.
And they play Ohio on Thursday night of this week. I just had to throw that plug in there.
Right.
It's kind of neat. Nolensville's not a very big place at all.
Right.
And for their Little League All-Star team to be in the World Series is pretty special.
When you look, of course, Axel Aldino was gone from a year. He was our DTC Player of the Year. But they've got a great wide receiver in Isaac Knowles. You've got Diego Coronada, Isaiah Harrington at running back, Brias Trapp. And we won't say who he's kin to that'll step into that quarterback role. But when you look at DeKalb, it seems like even back to the Stephen Jennings days, always DeKalb has a prolific quarterback that not only is a good thrower, but a good rusher as well.
I'm not sure. Coach Trapp may have been a quarterback himself, but he coaches as though he may have been.
Right.
And he certainly does a great job of getting the most out of the kids that he has. And he's going to make sure they play by his rules or they won't play. He's dismissed some pretty good players in the past to get his point across. And nobody expected them to beat, what was it, Tullahoma a couple of years ago, I think. That was
Marshall County.
Marshall County, that's right. Thank you. He does a great job over there, and I really like what he stands for and what he means to those kids.
Let's go ahead and look at the DeKalb County schedule. And of course, you got Warren County, and that's a big rivalry too, Murphy. And then you got Smith and you got Macon. I mean, they jump kind of into the frying pan right out of the bat, and then they go to Watertown. So a tough schedule for the Tigers.
It is. There's not a whole lot of breathers on that. No gimmies on that schedule, if you will. I think after they beat Marshall County a couple of years ago, people that didn't really, the only thing they associated DeKalb County with was Center Hill Lake.
Right.
And now they know there's a pretty good football program up there too.
I think we'll see big things out of DeKalb County this year in Coach Trapp. We'll take a look at the Smith County and Gordonsville game, the series that Murphy and I are pretty familiar with down through the years, and there's been some great ones. And when we return here to the box score, brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team.
There's no shortage of real estate companies out there, but there's only one Blackwell Realty and Auction. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction has the knowledge and the experience necessary to help you. They understand that real estate sales happen because of the hours of work they put into every sale, whether representing you as the buyer, the seller, or both. Get started today the Kirby way. The Kirby team with Blackwell Realty and Auction. Call them today or visit blackwellrealtyandauction.com.
2 delicious options, 2 convenient locations. So make the entire family happy with just one stop to KFC Taco Bell. Located at 501 Gordonsville Highway in Gordonsville and 105 East Broad Street in Smithville, we've got you covered at KFC Taco Bell, no matter the food craving. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, get in the car and kick that hunger to the curb with a quick visit to KFC Taco Bell. Located in Gordonsville and Smithville. Stop by today.
Powell & Meadows Insurance, in business since 1894, provides knowledgeable and personal service to our clients. One call puts you in touch with a local agent who will help you shop from a variety of top companies. At Powell & Meadows Insurance Agency, we work for you. Call today or visit us online anytime.
We are here to help you. Let us show you what customer service is all about. Give us a call today.
Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville is hiring. We have open positions for master maintenance technicians, maintenance trainer, electricians, miners, mill operators, mill technicians, warehouse attendant, business analyst, mine supervisor, and other amazing opportunities. We offer competitive wages, excellent benefits, PTO, holiday pay, exceptional 401k, and much more. Make the most of your future and your career. Join the excellent team at Nearstar Middle Tennessee Mines in Gordonsville.
And welcome back to the box score for the final segment. Terry Collins along with my good friend, the guru, Murphy Fair. And Murphy, I don't know that it gets, it's one of the larger rivalries in the state of Tennessee, and I'm not saying that because it's the Huff and Puff trucking game of the week, but the Owls and the Tigers getting together on the gridiron is a special, special place.
When I was editor of the paper in Carthage many, many years ago, I used to refer to that as the Smith County Super Bowl.
Right.
And it really is. People from outside of Smith County don't really understand the intensity of this ball game and how much it means. There are people on both sides of the river that would be perfectly satisfied if their team had a 1-9 record as long as that one win was against the other one of these two teams.
These people go to church together. They see each other at Walmart. They play together at Crump Parish. They play on the same t-ball team, softball, baseball, whatever it may be. They're family in a lot of cases.
Well,
you go to Thanksgiving dinner.
They date each other. The boys at one school date the girls at the other school.
Right. But, you know, I think that adds a lot of color to this rivalry.
Oh, certainly it does. And that's why I'm so glad they put it on a Saturday night, because everybody can go to that one. It's the only game in town, if you will, in Smith County, and it ought to be a rip snorter for sure.
Talked to Mark Medley. Of course, he was involved as a player and a coach. And he said, Terry, the thing I'm most glad about, it's back on game one. It's not game two like it's been recently.
That's the way to start the season if you live in Smith County,
For sure. Let's go ahead and look at the kind of the history of it. Of course, it began back in 1930. The Owls lead the series 65-20-2. But Gordonsville, as we talked earlier, Murphy, has won 2 of the last 3. And when you look at those bullets down through there, it's so, I guess it brings back so many memories to you and myself when we see down through the years, we remember this game or that game.
It's one, and you get emotionally attached to these teams, to these kids, to these communities. And it's one, from my point of view anyway, I hated to see either team lose.
Right.
Like you said, it's with it being the first game of the season, boy, it puts an awful lot of pressure on both coaching staffs. I don't know that the kids feel the pressure, but the coaches certainly do. And I think this one at Turney Ford Field will live up to all the expectations.
I think there's 2 keys to this game, Murphy. First, can the Owls slow down the Gordonsville passing attack? Can the Owls generate offense? I think that's going to be your 2 keys to the game.
Sounds like you're figuring the line of scrimmage is going to make the difference, and I think you're probably right in that regard, Terry.
Murphy, let's go ahead and look. We've got the guru, so hey, let's take advantage of it and let him do some picks for us. I know that you study these and you pick actually every game over the state of Tennessee. Murphy, go down the list.
All right, we're going to start with local games. Watertown at Fayetteville. Boy, that's a tough one to call to get things started. But I'm going to have to go with Fayetteville. Just too much speed there, and they're going to be on their own turf. So I'm going to go with, interestingly enough, they're both Tigers. I could say the Tigers are going to win, but I think it'll be the black and orange Tigers of Fayetteville.
Okay, go ahead, Murph.
DeKalb County at Warren County. It was a close one last year, I think less than a touchdown. I'm going to have to go with Warren County. Coach Turner's done a great job in turning that program around over there.
All right, Cannon County, Monterey.
Got to go with Cannon County. That's where I live, and I seriously think Cannon County can win that ball game. They need something to boost their positiveness, if you will, and confidence, and I think they do that up on the mountain.
All right, the Huff and Puff Trucking Game of the Week be here on Saturday night, Smith County and Gordon.
Is it okay if I say a tie in overtime?
That's up to you, Murph.
Again, playing at home, I think the home field advantage seems to be a big difference maker in that one, so I'm going to have to pick Gordonsville in that one.
All right, let's go with some East Tennessee picks that we're kind of looking at and that are kind of highlight games up in the eastern third of the state, South Doyle at Oak Ridge.
All three of those games had a special significance. South Doyle and Oak Ridge had never, ever met before the semifinals last year. Oak Ridge got them by a couple of touchdowns, 14-0, and both coaches that night said, why don't we play each other to get the season started next year, and that's what's happening. I think Oak Ridge wins that one.
West Ridge at Volunteer.
Volunteer is in the city limits of Kingsport, if I'm not mistaken. West Ridge is a brand new high school. It's the consolidation of Sullivan Central, Sullivan North, and Sullivan South. I think West Ridge, because they've got the best players from 3 teams last year, I think they win their opener at Volunteer.
Oneida at Williamsburg, Kentucky.
I mentioned that one because longtime Oneida coach Tony Lambert is now an assistant coach at the University of the Cumberlands, which is at Williamsburg, less than 30 miles apart. I think it's real interesting that they're going to play each other, and they've done that in the past. But Jimmy May, whose father coached Oneida to a state championship back in the late 80s or early 90s, has reassumed the head coaching position at Oneida, and I think Oneida wins that one on the road.
All right, let's go ahead and look at the Middle Tennessee picks. Murphy, just go down them.
Brentwood at Blackman, 2 first-year coaches. Should be a great ball game over in the borough, and I think, I can't remember who I picked. I think Brentwood. They've got more kids coming back. Blackman's a very good football team, but a very young football team.
CPA at Independence.
That's where I'm planning on going on Friday night this week. Wow, both of those teams could be playing in Chattanooga when it's all said and done at the end of the season. But I think CPA may be just a notch better in that one.
All right, let's look at Summit and Henry County.
I mentioned the fact that South Doyle and Oak Ridge played for the very first time last year in the semifinals. So did Summit and Henry County, and they're opening up the season just like those East Tennessee teams are. I think the Wade brothers, the twins, they're incredible. They're a package deal that's going to Kentucky next year, and I think they are the difference in the ball game. I'm picking Summit.
Okay, Murph, it's been a blast. I know it always seems to fly, and we look forward to doing this for the next 14 weeks.
Does that mean we're done?
Yeah.
For tonight, anyway.
For sure.
It's been fun. Thanks,
It has, Murph. We want to thank our crew of Janie and Justin and Nick for all they do behind the scenes. And we want to thank you, our viewers, for watching the box score. It's been brought to you by Blackwell Realty and the Josh Kirby team.